I always ask the best to show up in my life, and
Yes.
that's my standard, and the best will show up until the next best thing shows up, until the next best
Yes.
thing.
Hey, if you want to heal your body naturally, lose that toxic weight and transform your mind so that weight never comes back, I want to invite you to join my Mind Body Boss mentorship program, where I use my proven formula to help you achieve that. Click on the link in the description to learn more. See you on the inside. Well, hello, Norey Osden. She's
Hello,
welcome.
Monica.
Yeah, she's here from Australia, which is so exciting. The time difference is insane. We were just discussing it just a second before we started. And I mean, it's like 15 hours difference. Is that right?
And actually 16.
16, yeah. So it's like not evening for me. It's like dark outside here, and it's morning for you. Just like it's so mind-blowing. Yes, it's so
It's so
crazy.
mind-blowing. And that's what we were saying. Like, I've just dropped the kids off. I'm starting my day, and you're finishing off your day.
Yeah,
But here
it's
we are.
that's crazy. I love it. I love it. Well, Norey and I actually met in Portugal a couple weeks ago or a week ago, and at a special event, and I got to actually talk to her and meet her. Why don't you just like introduce yourself? Just a quick introduction, just kind of let us know who you are and just a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So, yes, Monica, we did have the pleasure of meeting last week in Madeira at our pre-launch of Lumivitae. Now, what brought me to that space, or a little bit of background about me, is that probably 3 decades. God, that's really shown my age. I
And mine.
Yes. Oh gosh. So 3 decades ago, in my early 20s, I am a practicing speech pathologist, I should say. And at that time, I had just graduated as a speech pathologist, and I was engaged to get married. And what happened in my life was that I had a lot of pain in my joints, and I was really, really physically unwell.
Mm.
And that was a shock to me, because I was just about to start life, a new career, a marriage, and I was burdened with this pain. I went to a specialist, and I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition called fibromyalgia/chronic fatigue, with very severe joint pain, where I was receiving cortisol injections just to move. So for me, that was really an eye-opener, and I can honestly say with my hand on my heart that it was a blessing, because when I went to the specialist, I remember sitting at his table, and he said, "There's nothing we can do for you, Norey," and he prescribed antidepressants for me. I walked out of that room and I said, no. I said, I know there's another way. And that was my journey onto holistic health and well-being. So thank you to that clinician that said, no, there was no way out except antidepressants. I'm forever
Wow.
grateful, because then I started my journey, into wellness. And I really believe that's also shaped my work as a speech pathologist,
Mm.
in that I do consider myself a speech pathologist that thinks outside the box.
I
So I
love
don't
it.
just look at treating symptoms, I look at the whole picture. I don't just look at the mouth, I look at the whole being. So fast forward 3 decades later, I am here in this space, and I can say that I healed my condition within 2 years of starting this journey of holistic health and well-being. And 3 decades later, I have just embedded these practices into my work, into my lifestyle. I'm a mama of 2 beautiful children, my daughter
Oh.
who's 17 and my son who is nearly 12. And I call them my organic children. My
Oh.
children, hand on heart, have never been to the doctor's clinic. I have if ever I've had to treat them, I've used my intuition and I've used alternative methods. I've used Mother Nature to treat my children, but they don't even know what a doctor is.
Wow.
So I am living proof of my passion and my true belief in that nature is our medicine cabinet, and true
Absolutely.
belief in just having a very clean, simple lifestyle in terms, for health.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's a beautiful and you were in your 20s? Is that when it
I
like
was in my 20s when I was
20s? Yeah.
diagnosed with, yeah,
Wow.
my autoimmune condition. So it was life changing.
Wow,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure. And I mean, think about how many people get that diagnosis or they are told, oh, there's nothing we can do. This is what you have, deal with it. I mean, how,
Exactly.
here's some antidepressants that have this many symptoms and deal with it. So it really is, and being a medical professional myself, similar to you, I got into this field because I saw so much out there that I'm like, I wish I could help. Yes, there's help. There's so much more that we can do, but we don't because we take the easy approach. And this takes me back to, of course, medical disclaimer. We're not here to give any advice. We're just sharing our own personal experiences. So any questions you have or any changes you want to make in your life, you always should consult your PCP or your doctor, because we're not medical doctors. We work in the medical field, but we are just sharing our own personal opinions. Um, so going back to, you said you were diagnosed with fibromyalgia. Like, how did you start? Like, what started with the healing journey? Like, how did you start your healing journey?
Yes. So the first thing that when I walked out of that clinic room, I thought, no, there's other possibilities. So I took a stock take of my life and what practices I was engaging in. And when I did take a look, I was probably a bit shocked about the choices that I had made. So at the time, I was on the contraceptive pill.
Hmm.
At the time, my diet wasn't as clean as it was. At the time, I wasn't probably drinking the best water or hydrating myself as well. So when I sort of looked at my journey, I thought that's where I've got to start first. I've got to eliminate as many toxins as I possibly can. I've got to clean up my diet and I've got to start putting really clean, healthy water, healthy food into my body. In addition to that, then I also started, obviously, because I was quite unwell, I started then taking just some supplementation to just speed the process along. So it was a journey of detoxing, really, and it was a journey of then really putting back into my body what it really needed in terms of water and nutrition.
Gotcha. And how long did it take you to get back to feeling better or feeling well?
I would say after the first year, I started feeling a lot better. But by the end of the second year, I felt like dynamite. I really felt like my old self, full of energy, full of beans, and yeah, that was, I would say, a 2 year period, definitely.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And so, I mean, for those who maybe are not like aware of like fibromyalgia symptoms and some of the autoimmune conditions associated with that, what kind of symptoms were you having? Like joint pain, inflammation, you mentioned?
Absolutely. I was having the main symptom was my joint pain, in that when I was sitting down, I was in so much pain. I couldn't
Mm,
bend my knees, my elbows would hurt. I'd lie down and I was just in so much pain. So joint pain one, so the inflammation. The other two, the other one was low energy. And the other symptom was also just feeling really down in my mood.
mm,
So, and that really was just feeling really sad and just, feeling helpless that, I'm 22, I've got my life ahead of me. What's going on? There's got to be more to this. And
mm,
obviously, probably at that stage, not knowing why this was all happening until I started my, journey of self mastery and self inquiry. I would also say the other symptom was also my skin wasn't the best. So I was breaking out in my skin, which was a sign of toxicity. So that was a clear marker too, that if, with my skin not being the best, our skin is a detoxing organ. So if anything's going to detox, it'll come through the skin too. So my skin was communicating to me. And I think that's the point that I want to make, that our body is our barometer. Our body communicates with us all the time. And my body was saying, I need help, Norey. What you're putting into it is probably not the best.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, it was an amazing, again, I'm so grateful for my body, because it communicated and said it needed help through my skin, through how I felt, through obviously the pain that I was experiencing. It was enough to wake me up and go, oh, what's going on here? Because again, with our backgrounds, and especially after my, studying at university in physiology and anatomy, I knew the body was remarkable. I knew the body was intelligent. I knew that the brain was plastic. And I'm like, this is not set in stone. There's, we can mold and we can work with the body, and we literally get a new body every year with our cell turnover. And with this knowledge, that's why when the specialist said there's nothing we can do, I'm like, it just does not gel with me. It does not gel with what I've just learned.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And thank God that you did listen to your body, because our body is always telling us, you're not just experiencing symptoms just because that's how it is, or if you're older, oh, that's how it is. You're supposed to have pain and then this stuff. No, you're not supposed to have pain, and if there's pain, we need to listen to it. Like, what is going on? Like, why are we experiencing, why am I having a headache? Am I stressed? I'm not gonna just take ibuprofen to take care of my head. Maybe I'm thirsty, maybe I'm dehydrated, maybe I need to take deep breaths. Like, we forget how many amazing nature's pharmacy things we have just free for use, and we don't use it. We're so used to just the quick fix, quick pill, especially here in the United States. I don't know how it is in Australia, but it's bad here.
Similar in Australia.
Yeah, that's crazy. And when you said you changed your diet. For those out there, of course, in America, in US, we eat terribly, So could you give an example, like what kind of diet you were, like, what were you eating before, and what did you change to? Like, what did you shift to? Did you shift to a different plant-based or any different? Can you give us a little bit more about it?
Absolutely. For me, I didn't follow any particular diet, and for me, it was just eating clean. So I suppose my standard for that was that I would buy food that was living, and if I was to buy any packaged food, I would buy food that had no chemical numbers in there, if that makes sense. So as closest to nature as possible, and that's all I did. So I didn't do a very plant-based, or I didn't do keto or anything like that. It was really just eating clean, cleaning up all the chemicals that I was, obviously ingesting through all the food that I was taking. And just the preservatives and additives, colors, all of that. I eliminated all of that. So I just went to a real nice, clean diet that involved fresh produce, fruits and vegetables, that involved organic meats. Just went back to nature. So I ate butter instead of, margarine, because margarine's processed. So I really took out anything processed out of my diet, and I still tend to live like that today. Again, I follow the 80-20 rule. We're all human. Obviously, we can't do it. Doing everything 100% of the time is sometimes tricky in this day and age. So if you're generally 80% of the time eating clean, the 20% of the time your body knows how to deal with all of that stuff. It can just, deal with it and get rid of it from your body. So I also say we've got to be practical, and also, like, my kids, they go to birthdays, for example. You can't keep them immune from, chips and lollies and stuff like that. I suppose you've just got to be sensible in that, what, if I'm generally healthy on the whole, I know every now and then if I do indulge, my body knows how to deal with that, process that, and eliminate that from my body really well.
Yeah, and you probably know pretty quickly, oh, this did not go right, didn't go well with my body, or, when you eat something that's not per se good for your body. Yeah.
It's amazing how your body, like I know when I'll have my big fat piece of cake that, I ate, I'll be like, oh God,
Yeah.
but okay, I have such a great contrast of when I am eating, clean, I feel great. And every now and then I indulge, I go, okay, it is what it is. But your body tells you straight away. It's so intelligent.
It really
And
is. Yeah.
it's so intelligent. Even my kids have got to the stage where now when they do go out to parties, they'll come home and they'll go, Mum, can we please have your chicken and vegetable soup? We're craving it, and I'm like, oh, I've given them a great contrast where they'll go and eat their junk and then they'll come home and go, we really feel like that vegetable chicken soup.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. And it's also like listening to the innate body, the self. It's also like, when I tell people, when you have an intuition, right? So many times we just like, no, 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 we don't listen to our intuition. But our intuition is there for a reason. And same thing about anything with your body. It's there for a reason. And the more we tune in to listening, the more we'll catch things ahead of time. So that's another thing is like, don't just say, oh, I'm just being whiny, or that's not, it just listen to it because it really speaks the truth, just like your intuition.
Absolutely, Monica. And even in terms of my line of work, I see people that have difficulties with speech, language, swallowing, voice. And a lot of people ask me and say, why is this happening? And I always say that, these difficulties are a symptom of something bigger. Your body's trying to communicate something to you. And all we've got to do is look and inquire and dig deeper. And sometimes, yes, there's an organic reason why it's happening in terms of, physically in our body. Sometimes there's an emotional basis to it. Sometimes some locked and stored trauma in our body. So again, when your body gets to a point where it's communicating to you through a symptom or a pain, you've got to listen because, it's communicating something, a lot bigger.
Yeah. I find it, and I don't know, let me know if this has been your experience. It's like, you went to the doctor, you didn't listen to the doctor, you went and researched on your own. But that's hard for a lot of people because we do trust the doctors. And I'm not saying all doctors are bad in any way, but there's a lot of out there that just want to treat the symptom, not the cause, not the deeper underlying issue. You go to, a specialist and they just look at this. They don't look at the whole picture. And maybe we need to look at the whole picture. Maybe we need to ask questions, even as a doctor or a medical practitioner, whatever. Because, thankfully you didn't listen, but how many people are out there, start off on the antidepressants in their 20s and you can't get off of those. If you've been on antidepressants for years and years and years, I've never been, but I know it's so hard to get off of those because of the serotonin uptake and like how difficult it is to get off of the antidepressants. So it's just, I don't know. Like, what do you think?
I think you brought up a really great point. Obviously, both of us being health professionals and working in the health system, and I'm going to say I don't really think it's a health system, it's more of a sick care system.
It is, yes.
And the reason why I say that is because you touched on the point that they treat symptoms. Now, for me, entering into this field, I can't just treat symptoms. For me, I know there's an underlying cause for everything. When you think of the universe, when you think of the world, when you think of people, that's just my point of view, that there is always a reason for something. So I've always been an in-depth person, so to speak. So for me, I wouldn't even say challenging the physician, I just didn't agree with the specialist or the physician. I just knew there was another way and a possibility. And that's because I do believe in seeking the root cause of something, not just treating the symptoms. That's just the way I work. And again, a lot of people trust doctors and say, all right, whatever they give me, I know it's going to help. But again, I think the key question we've got to ask any professional is what is this treating? Is this treating the underlying cause of my problem, or is this just treating the symptoms going to make me addicted to whatever you're giving me? And that's how I empower my patients. I say to them, please, not that you need to say you know more than your doctor, but you can ask this question.
Yes.
What you're recommending, is it going to treat the underlying cause, or is this problem going to emerge again in 2 years' time if I stop these drugs, or if something else happens? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's
I
about
agree.
really just empowering people to ask the questions, because for me, I could have been in a very different situation at this point in my life. I could have been
Yeah.
in a wheelchair. I probably wouldn't even been around, to tell you the truth. I was in so much pain and so unwell that God knows what could have happened with my health trajectory and journey. So, but I asked the question, no, there's a reason for this. And when I got to the underlying cause and reason, my whole life changed.
I love that. And I mean, you're right. And it's like looking at it like, okay, we're just putting a band-aid. There's a cut, we're gonna put a band-aid. The band-aid doesn't treat the cut, right? Like if their cut is deep enough, maybe it needs sutures, maybe it just needs something else, but putting a band-aid is not going to fix things. And I think that's what we do a lot of times. We just put a band-aid by giving those quick pills. And I'm not saying I'm not anti certain pharmaceuticals. If you have crazy high blood pressure and you need to modify your diet along with the medicine for blood pressure, I get that, but it cannot be okay forever. You're
I
taking it for temporary relief so you don't get a stroke from this crazy high blood pressure, but we need to modify whether it's the diet, the weight, whatever else is going on, because that blood pressure pill is just going to treat that symptoms of the blood pressure. You're not treating anything, the underlying cause, which is usually obesity or, other things.
And Monica, that's such a great point. Like, again, we're not here anti, health system. I always say that our health system works remarkably with acute conditions. You break your leg. Oh my God, we're so grateful to have modern medicine,
Yes.
help us with that. You have appendicitis, it's amazing. But when you've got symptoms that have been prolonging, and like for me, my pain was over a period of months, I knew it wasn't an acute condition. So when we talk about chronic conditions, really have that self-inquiry. Why am I continually getting headaches? Why am I continually getting migraines? Why is it that I've always got this back pain, and this back pain's been around for 9 months or 12 months? It's those long-term chronic conditions that we need to dive deep and under. But again, like you said, there's a place for the drugs. There's a place for our medical system and surgeries, and we're forever grateful, for that technology. But it's just, really using your wisdom to say, well, does this fall into the acute category? Or look, do I really need to look at my lifestyle? Do I need to look at, some other things?
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to be your own advocate. Nobody's going to advocate for you but yourself. You have to be your own advocate.
Absolutely.
Also, I think we discussed, you dealt with some symptoms of anemia as well.
Yes. Yes.
Can you share a little bit about that? That was a more recent thing, right? And
Now, no, unfortunately, like what happened is, so with the fibromyalgia, yes, I, completely, like I healed from the pain, and my anemia has been something that's been on and off, that's been coming and going, obviously, according to lifestyle stresses. And, in life, we have certain stresses that appear, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's been something that's been on and off in my life. And just recently, actually, and again, like I said, since, 3 decades ago, I've always been on this journey of self-mastery, self-inquiry when it comes to my health. So I'm always looking for the best water, the best nutrition, the best holistic techniques that can enhance my well-being. And just this year, I was like, okay, I've really got to look at this iron thing. Yes, I don't eat too much meat. I'm not plant-based, but what's going on here? And as I started looking more deeply into it, uh, the topic of water really came up to my, awareness. And again, through my line of work, water is a huge tool and technology that I've recommended to my patients. I've always recommended that they have good, clean, filtered water. Hydration is extremely important for the digestive process and for swallowing, because we, as speech pathologists, we address swallowing issues. Vocal hygiene or hydration is extremely important for speech and voice production. And so water's always been something in my corner that I've always chosen to have the best of. Well, this year recently, I've gone, okay, well, water is carried within our blood. My blood, there's a bit of anemia there. So again, that internal inquiry of looking deep into what's going on here. And I came across our genius Nuno Nina. And I'm crazy when it comes to real self-mastery. I'm like, right, this man got this water, molecular hydrogen water, and there's all these amazing scientific research behind it and its impact on, obviously hydration. And we know the blood carries the, the water. And I've gone, I just need to catch up with this man. So I actually booked a ticket and flew all the way to Portugal in June of this year. And people thought I was crazy. They're going, hey, what is good? What? And I said, no, this is so worth it. I'm going to get some information here. One, about my own personal goals. And two, I want to find out more about this water. So I caught up with him and had a one-on-one session. And specifically for, anemia that I was sort of on and off with.
So wait, this was before this trip. You went to see him
Absolutely.
before. Oh, yes. I didn't know that.
Yes, the launch was my second trip to Portugal. I actually went for the first time. I met Nuno in June, and I picked up this beautiful, beautiful bottle. And this was the last bottle of the last prototype, and it ended up in my hands. I don't think that's a coincidence.
So, for those who don't know who Nuno is, he's a Portuguese. He's got an interesting name, Nuno Nina. He's a Portuguese inventor. People compare him to Nikola Tesla. He's truly a genius, but also after meeting him in person, just an amazing human being that you just can't explain. Just for those who don't know him. So you went to meet him. You went for like an evaluation, like a health meeting with him, because he's a practitioner as well, right?
Absolutely. So I specifically want to talk to him about just my own personal health goals. And he said they did some basic testing and said I was severely dehydrated. Now that was like a slap in my face, because I'm like, what? I'm drinking like the best water I thought I knew at the time, but I was drinking alkaline water. And what I since found out, months ago, was that was a contributing factor to my dehydration. So again, I had to empty part of my learning out about water, and I've sort of re-educated myself with the new teachings or the new knowledge that I've acquired now, which makes absolute sense to me. It's actually was a light bulb moment for me, going, oh my gosh, this makes absolute sense. So for me, it was quite revolutionary actually catching up with him.
So tell us, like, for those who don't know, what's wrong with alkaline water? Why is alkaline water dehydrating? Why was it dehydrating you?
Well, what happens with alkaline water? So alkaline water is anything above 7, but the one that I was drinking was around about 8.5. And what alkaline water does in a nutshell is it disrupts the digestive process. So it dilutes the gastric juices. And we know the stomach is the organ where our food is assimilated. It's where our food, yes, and that assimilation process is affected with alkaline water. And in my line of field, I see a lot of patients with heartburn and reflux. And yes, we had a list of things or causes for that, but I never put the alkaline water down to that too. So for me, it's been a huge aha moment in my career, in my personal journey. And because we always, we were taught that, alkaline's really good in terms of neutralizing the acid in your body and keeping you healthy. Well, that's now gone from my brain. And yeah, definitely we know that in order for our digestive process to work effectively, our body is generally slightly acidic, so we need to not dilute our gastric juices. So Nuno often recommends a pH of between 6 and 6.5. for just making sure that our digestion's running smoothly, and the contents of our food is going from one stage of the digestive process to the next smoothly. So that's in a nutshell. And again, people can reach out and they can look into it themselves. But again, that really alkaline water is a myth. And I hand on my heart, I've used it. So look, I came from the school of thought of that it was good for us. We had anti-cancer properties and blah, 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 blah. But no, if anything, it's doing long-term more harm than good. That's why it all makes sense to me that I was generally healthy, but I was still feeling bloated. It wasn't long-term chronic stuff, but after I'd eat or, drink, I'd feel a bit bloated. I'm like, oh, what's going on here? But this has solved the puzzle for me, catching up with Nuno and getting this new knowledge, or, really embedding this knowledge into my practice and my lifestyle has changed my well-being exponentially. So this was a missing link of mine. And again, with new consciousness comes new learning. So I always say, I've been there, done that. At that time, that was the thing to go to. That was the knowledge that we had. That was the tool and the technology that was recommended. And all I say is, with this self-inquiry mind, I know that I am open to new possibilities. I am open to new information. And if you are open, the best of the best will show up in your life. And I am so forever grateful that Nina showed up in my life, and his technology showed up in my life, because it has been a game changer going back to my anemia. Within 5 months of using this, I've stopped all supplementation. My energy is through the roof. I'm not passing out at nighttime, from tiredness. Honestly, and people have noticed, they've said, what are you on? And I'm just like, I'm on just amazing water.
So what's in this water? What is in this water? What do you think has, because it's just looks like regular water. What is so special about this bottle? She's showing it actually for those who are listening to it on the podcast.
This is the old prototype. A new bottle is being launched, and we're going to have it delivered in the next 2 weeks. But in a nutshell, this vessel, I call it's more than a bottle, it's a vessel, produces molecular hydrogen water. So you take off the lid, you fill it with filtered water, and then there's a button here that you press. I've just pressed it now, and you'll see the blue light come on. And then there's these bubbles that are forming, and it's producing molecular hydrogen. Now, molecular hydrogen scientifically has been proven to have so many therapeutic benefits. So it's molecular hydrogen is the smallest molecule of our universe, and it's easily penetrable into our cells. And the amazing thing with this molecule that, I'm learning, like I feel like, God, it's been such an amazing molecule to learn about, is that it is an intuitive molecule. It goes to where your body needs the most help and helps harmonize that part of your body. So it doesn't go in and fix the problem, but what it does is it works on the terrain. So I don't know if you're familiar with the terrain theory, or the concept of what molecular hydrogen does is that it works on purifying the water in our body. And if we think of our body as a fish tank, and if the fish tank is full of pure, nice, clean water, the fish are going to survive and thrive, and the seaweed's going to thrive. If we are the fish tank and our organs are the fish, well, if we've got beautiful, pure, clean water, our organs are going to thrive. So the analogy that I like to use is the fish tank. If the fish tank's got murky, dirty water, stagnant water, then our organs are going to suffer, and that's when disease processes happen. So really, the molecular hydrogen just comes in and purifies and purifies the water in our body. And we've learned that we are 99.9% water. So that's probably one of the most important elements we need to consider. I always say this: we are what we drink before what we eat. And that's been a huge awareness for me, is that getting my water right first before even my nutrition, because the water is what transports the nutrition around your body. So it's a no-brainer. For me, breath first. Without breath, we're dead in a few minutes. Then it's water. With water, we could do without for a few days, but then we're in strife. And then nutrition. Nutrition we could probably do without, we can fast for long periods. So there, in terms of priority, we've got to make sure that we're breathing, correctly and good clean air. And then we've got to make sure our hydration is the best, and then nutrition. So sort of this like the pillars of my, I say, well-being.
It's funny you mentioned about the alkaline water, because before going to Portugal and learning about the molecular hydrogen and how it works in our body, I had no idea how bad alkaline water is. And, when I got back from Portugal, I went to the store trying to find a good spring water that is low pH. There was one. It took me 40 minutes Googling and looking, because some of them had it on there, but the ones that didn't have the pH on there, I had to Google, and some of them were still high. It is not easy to find water that's clean spring water with low pH, like between 6 and 6.5. So and I had no idea. I didn't know it either. I'm always learning, always, just like also, Nuno actually said, when you eat, or you're not really supposed to be drinking water as you eating, because that also dilutes the hydrochloric acid in your stomach, and it makes it harder to digest. And when you're not digesting, you're not absorbing things. I mean, it could be stuff like anemia. If you're not absorbing iron and the nutrients, anemia. I mean, could be all kinds of other things.
Perfect example. Like I said, I was drinking alkaline water thinking that it was doing my, body a great thing. But again, I listened to my body. I thought, okay, what's going on here? And that's where it led me to find a better water for my, and again, I would, hand on my heart, I would never endorse anything I haven't used, in terms of I can, you believe in my belief that I have tried all the waters, the reverse osmosis, distilled, alkaline. I've been a geek. I've always looked into having the best water. And recently now I've also realized that spring water ain't, sometimes that's not the best. And what we've got to look at is water has 5 properties that we've got to look at. And you've got to have a balance of all those 5 properties. And sometimes spring water has what we call a huge mineral content, and what we call a TDS level, total dissolved solvent level, and that can put a lot of strain on your kidneys. So there's so many factors we need to consider when it comes to water, that it's not just, molecular hydrogen's the way to go. Well, we've also got to consider the water that we put into this bottle as well. And there is what we call a water that's the most resonant with our bodies, the most resonant to allow our bodies to shine and do the best that it can be. It's the most resonant in terms of helping our bodies come into homeostasis. And for me, it's been, these last few months have been the most amazing journey, because it's opened my awareness to water. I feel like I've had a PhD in water, and the best water, and why it's so important to have these ratios, and why, yes, you can get some spring water down where you're living, but if the solids are, mineral content's too much, that can sometimes long-term, not work. Oh, it's just been incredible. And I can say, as I fine-tune to choosing the best water, and I have done like you, I've been a geek and researched, the best water available in Australia. I've also researched it for overseas. So if anyone wants any tips,
then tell us. Yeah, tell us some tips, because it's very confusing. Like, what is the best water? They say, reverse osmosis is dead water, or distilled. It's just completely, everything's out. There's nothing left in it. But what is the best water to drink? It really is confusing, even to myself. Like, because sometimes I'm like, well, that's not right. That's not right. Well, what I drink? Toilet water. Just drink the toilet water. That might be the best.
I love this discussion, because people are like, I've spent thousands of dollars on this filtration system, and I've just learned that it's crap.
I have personally, I've spent a lot of money on certain filtration systems, and now I'm learning, well, wait a minute, that is not the best water. So tell us, based on your research.
Let's talk about the properties of water. And this is what Nuno Nene teaches. And he wants to educate people and empower people to choose the best water. Because when you have this knowledge, then you cannot unlearn this. When you inquire about water, you will ask these questions and say, okay, does the water have these properties? So what we'll go very quickly, because this could be a completely different topic altogether, And if you want more information, you can always go to Nuno Nino's Academy. But when we are looking at water, we need to look at the 5 properties, and they are the RH2 factor. So the reducing power of the water, we call it the electrical factor. We need to look at the pH, which is the magnetic factor. We need to look at the hydrogen content, the H2 levels. We need to look at the TDS values, total dissolved solids, and we need to look at the ORP, so ORP, the oxidation reduction potential. Now, please take that with a grain of salt. I don't need you to understand any of those, but there are certain ratios you need to tick off with each one. So if the water has these properties at a certain ratio, you know you've got good water. So what we look at, or what Nuno says, is RH2 should be less than 10. The pH should be between 6 to 6.5, around about 6.2. We should look at the hydrogen content needs to be 1.2 to 1.4 parts per million. We want to make sure that the TDS volume or the TDS levels of the mineral content is between 20 and 60. And we want to make sure that the oxidation reduction potential is negative 400 to 650. So these are just, again, you can look more. I'm presenting this information so you can ask questions and inquire more about this. Go to the sources that will have the information. Nuno Nino's Academy is amazing for this. Reach out to myself if you want more information. It's just, if these properties these properties of water and are present at these ratios, then you know your body's going to love the water. When we're talking about distilled and reverse osmosis, yes, they're dead water. The mineral content's been taken out of it. And I always say there's pros and cons to every water. It may be amazing if you're going on a quick detox, or you want a really quick detox of heavy metals. You might want to use this water for that reason, to draw out all of the toxins. But again, long term, dead water is not the way to go, because it will leach electrolytes from your body. When we're talking about alkaline, we've already talked about alkaline disrupting your digestive process, and it is going to really impact on your gut microbiome, and it's just not the way to go if you want good health moving forward. And the other thing too is the other sorts of water. I'm just trying to think. They're probably the main types of water. And then there's heaps of filtration systems out there. The main thing you want to look at is in terms of what's spring waters. What's the mineral content of the water? There are great spring waters, and there are spring waters that are really high alkaline and with a high TDS level, which I would stay away from. I've done my basic research, and again, I don't have any affiliate with any brand or product, but I know, being in Australia, one of the brands that really, really resonate with this bottle or using it is called Puree. They seem to tick all the boxes of all the values that I like. And overseas, Monica, what they suggest is Voss. So in the glass bottles, the Voss water, that seems to tick all the ratios for the properties of water as well. So I always say, look, if I'm in Australia, I'm drinking this water until I can find a filter that resonates with me. And when I'm overseas, I'll get Voss, or I think the other one is Lasso. The water brand in Portugal is amazing as well.
Oh, yeah,
so
that's good water.
The waters are out there. It's mainly just, again, do your research, email the companies, say, can I please have the pH level and the TDS level of this water? Ask them the questions and they'll give you the answer. As simple as that. That's what I've done.
That's the thing. I've never thought about even asking those things, because I didn't even know what TDS was. Like, I'm just now learning. I'm like, oh, and of course it doesn't say it on the bottle. They're not required to probably say that, but yeah, I'm also gonna do some research on that here in United States too. I know like Voss is expensive probably, but Carrie and I are actually going to do some research as far as like the filters here in US too, because you can get like a decent filter that filters certain things. But yeah, I want to do a little bit more research on that so I can help people make the decision or choices, and like Norey say, we're not affiliated with any of these, distributors or anything like that. So we're just sharing our information and really truly trying to help people, because water is life. When you are made up of 99.9% of water, every cell in your body is water. Your mitochondria, your brain, your hair, believe it or not, protein and water, of course. But you don't realize how, just how water can really dehydrate you, the wrong type of water. Yeah.
And look, and I'm living proof of that. I was chronically
Yes.
dehydrated when I met Nuno, and things have changed.
Crazy.
Like I said, my anemia, has improved, and I'm very, look, I have a science background, so I got my bloods done before I met him, and then I've got my bloods done again. So I had that objective change of, my bloods changing and my levels changing. I've noticed changes in my skin, and that's how I know I'm hydrated as well. Before, I used to have a lot more, and I'm a mature aged woman. So for me, that was a huge change.
Yeah.
When you're getting hydrated, I was peeing less. So when I was consuming this water, I'm like, why am I going to the toilet as much?
Yeah.
Before, I would drink and I'd feel the water swishing around and I'd just pee it out.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I was not absorbing it. So there was definitely, really observations that I made that, wow, this is really, really a game changer for me. And the other day, my daughter doesn't often comment and come out with comments about, my appearance. And she goes, Mum, I don't know what you're doing, but you are on fire. That was her words. And I'm like,
Oh, that's cute.
again,
I
that
love that.
confirmation. So
Well, you
gorgeous.
can see it in your, your how you are, your energy, your flow, your vibration. Like it all shows, it's everything. It's from the inside, how you
It is.
feel, and even
And
hydration. Yeah, like.
and that's been the key. As I've properly hydrated myself, everything has fallen into place. And like I said, it's not just the molecular hydrogen, again, with its therapeutic effects and harmonizing so many processes in my body too. I'm just so, so grateful that it's just been this amazing, just amazing co-creation, I would say, between me and this water and just life. And like I said, just with meeting all of you, the amazing thing is we're here sharing from the heart our love and passion for well-being, and communicating that you don't have to feel unwell. It is not it's not the norm. Feeling amazing is the norm. I'm approaching 50 and I feel 21. Honestly say that, hand on my heart. And anything is possible when it comes to your health, and I'm living proof of that. Trust me, there is not a day that goes by that I don't look into how I can enhance my well-being. And I know you can enhance it through natural ways, like water and eating clean and lots of other, obviously I'm a speech pathologist. Breath work is a huge component of my life too. But it's so amazing how when you're empowered with your health and you ask the questions, amazing doors open up, like it opened up for me this year. And for you too, Monica, meeting in Madeira, you're being called on to this project, this journey as well. And it's because you've asked the questions as well. So please, if anything you get from this podcast is ask questions. And no question is a stupid question. Your intuition knows, your body knows when something's not right. You know it's not right. And there was always a solution, and there was a natural solution. Yeah.
There's always a solution for everything. I want to go back to the hydrogen water and the anemia. Like, what do you think the hydrogen, like, how do you think it helped? I mean, obviously with the hydration, but what is so special about hydrogen, the penetration of the hydrogen into the cells? Because I'm sure people are probably asking questions, well, how did it help with anemia? And I know you've done a lot of research on this. Can you kind of touch a little bit more on like why and how you think that it has helped with the your symptoms of anemia, the tiredness and not feeling well, low heme and all that stuff?
Well, the first thing is that I've cut out the alkaline water. So one, I'm giving my body the best chance of now digesting the food more properly. Two, I've got water now in my bloodstream. My blood's not stagnant. So my blood is nicely hydrated with water. So the water can now transport those nutrients like iron and, to all my cells. My cells can now readily receive that through the molecular hydrogen. Like I said, its ability to cross over into the cells and support the cells is amazing. It's the smallest, most molecule. It's the most intuitive molecule. And we say hydrogen is like the fuel. Dr. Michelle Patrick, she's also an amazing being that we've met along this journey. And she put it cleverly in terms of, think of hydrogen as the wind beneath the mitochondria. And if you think of the mitochondria as those wind sails, or the machines
yes.
that your cells producing energy, well, hydrogen's like the wind beneath those. So if by drinking molecular hydrogen water and hydrating myself and getting that into my cells, I'm increasing any energy production of my cells as well. So it's a no-brainer. The bottom line is, when you're having the best water and you're hydrating your cells, you are getting more energy. And again, you're having more nutrients delivered to those cells. The other thing too is that you're actually cleaning up the cells as well from oxidative stress. And we know the benefits of this water in terms of inflammation. A lot of disease processes happen in our body due to oxidative stress, inflammation of the cells. So it really helps with cleaning that process up. So I feel like it's been a number of reasons why my energy has improved. It's because the water has worked on many processes in my body and has helped bring those processes into harmonization. It's helped them work in the most efficient way. My blood working in the most efficient way, my digestion working in the most efficient way, my energy production working in the most efficient way, etc., etc. So
Gotcha.
yeah, I'm just forever grateful. It's a miracle molecule for a reason. It impacts on so many, like I said, so many processes in our body that I've just named a few. Yeah. And also too, the molecular hydrogen, I also believe that it's helped me with my gut health. So we know there's a theory all disease starts in the gut. Again, going back to hydrochloric acid in the stomach and how the stomach is where everything's assimilated. I really feel that the molecular hydrogen water has really helped with my gut microbiome. It's helped with, reducing levels of bacteria and bring that into balance. So I could go on. I know it's impacted a lot of processes because objectively, I know my bloods have improved and my energy's improved. So, but they're just to name a few. So it's a no-brainer. When you've got more water in your system, it just does amazing. And we think we're getting water by drinking H2O or the water that we're drinking, but really it's not being transported to our body the way we want it to do. It's not entering the cells we want it, like the way we want it to.
Yeah. Well, thank you for explaining that. And, I have previously tried like different hydrogen bottles or things that produce hydrogen, but, hydrogen is kind of tricky. You don't always get like I think Nuno and the team tested probably over 90% of products out there that produce hydrogen. In fact, they really don't produce hydrogen. I actually got one of those reagents. It's like a little blue drops that you drop it in the water, and if it's like blue drops, and if it turns white, that means there's hydrogen in it. But if it stays blue, there's no hydrogen. And surprisingly, like 90% of the things on the market that you buy on Amazon for $20 don't produce any hydrogen. So that's another thing, is people think, oh, I'm using molecular hydrogen, where in fact they're really not getting that hydrogen into their body. When I was in Madeira and I tried, because we were trialing the new bottle, and it was, I was kind of skeptical. I was like, I haven't really felt that much from it. But when I tried it, and what for me personally, it's just my personal experience, I had this rush of like to my head. It was like I got dizzy for a second and my head was like kind of spinning. And so I asked Nuno, I was like, what the hell? I thought this is supposed to help me. Like, why am I getting this like weird rush to my head? Like, is there tequila in here? What's going on? And he asked me, he looks at me, he asked me, are you a constant thinker? Do you think all the time? And I'm like, Yes.
Yeah.
My head goes like 200 miles per hour all the time. And he said that's why. It's because the hydrogen goes to the area where your body needs the most. And I was like,
Absolutely.
boom. And it like made sense. And we were drinking that water all week. The best, not only the best quality water, but the best hydrogen, molecular hydrogen water. And it was, I mean, I felt a big difference in my hydration, how I felt. I had no jet lag, with even like 7 hours difference from Madeira and Nashville, where I live. I had no jet lag at all. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, is it hocus pocus, like like people?
Monica, it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
I travel from Australia, 30-hour plus flight, not one bit of jet lag. I arrived to
Yes.
Portugal hitting the ground running, and you know how busy we were. And I flew back to Australia hitting the ground running. So I cannot make this up.
Yeah.
Now, for me to be able to travel for 30 hours and then straight back into my routine with the kids, honestly, I have not stopped since I got back. And
Mm.
you cannot make this up. Once upon a time, I would have gone, oh God, kids, oh, mum needs to rest. I'm just, I'm shot. No,
Yeah.
I feel like I've got an ever-ready battery in me. And that's how I literally feel, like what the
Mm.
hydrogen is, like an ever-ready battery. But going back to the hydrogen in other bottles, I think people need to be aware that if they do purchase another bottle, to actually test the hydrogen
Yeah.
levels, because what we have learnt and what we have been taught is that producing molecular hydrogen, one,
Mm-hmm.
is a very dirty process. So a lot of people that are, I know a lot of people that I've been chatting to have said, oh, I've been on hydrogen water and it hasn't had much of an impact. So I haven't felt any difference.
Mm.
And I just want to talk to that a little bit, because yes, there's been models out there that have produced molecular hydrogen water, but in addition to producing that water, a lot of the technologies have not been able to manage the byproducts that are produced with the molecular hydrogen as well. So with Nuno's technology, what he is aware that when you do produce molecular hydrogen water, there are what we call dirty byproducts that are not good for your body. And his technology has created what we call a dual chamber with a membrane that completely eliminates and separates those byproducts,
Mm.
so that we're only consuming the pure molecular hydrogen water. So I really want you to be, or anyone that's purchasing a bottle, be aware of this technology and ask questions about if they are going to purchase a hydrogen bottle that doesn't have this dual chamber, does it manage the byproduct production well, does it eliminate it effectively, or is it still sort of the hydrogen water contaminated with it? The
Mm.
other thing too is, we know a lot of bottles produce hydrogen, molecular hydrogen, but then it disappears,
Yes.
quickly within minutes. Whereas we know with Nuno's technology, and again, he is honestly Nikola Tesla, Einstein reincarnated. He's the only one that's been able to produce a technology that we still can test the molecular hydrogen even after 2 hours, sometimes even after 24 hours.
Yeah.
So he does recommend to drink it within 30 hours to get the most therapeutic benefits. But we know his bottle produces molecular
Within 30
hydrogen
minutes, right? Within 30
absolutely
minutes. Yeah.
within 30 minutes. But
Yeah.
he has good levels of hydrogen in his bottle even after 2 hours.
Yeah.
So what we want to point out is, please ask these questions. How long does the hydrogen, molecular hydrogen last for? How long is it contained in the water for? Does it disappear within minutes? And also, too, how are the dirty byproducts managed? And that goes back to using really good quality materials and how you set up the technology to produce a molecular hydrogen. So when I've looked into it, for me, there's been no other technology except Nuno's that it's addressed
Mm.
all the concerns with molecular hydrogen water production. So for me, it was a no-brainer going, okay, there is no other technology that even compares. And the
Mm.
amazing thing with Nuno is that he wants people to be educated. He's like, you can bring any device to me and I'm happy to give you the information of whether it contains these, whether it has these features. And he's happy to point them out, because he just wants people to just consume the most purest form of molecular hydrogen available. And
Yeah.
that's the mission. Unfortunately, this hasn't been a hot topic for the last 10 years because the technology hasn't been up to scratch.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. And like you said, the byproducts, like people don't think about that. They buy some kind of hydrogen maker. Well, where does it
Yeah,
release the byproducts? We are,
exactly.
yeah. So I mean, we're not here to sell you any particular product. We're both medical practitioners, and
Absolutely.
we constantly share the information that we learn, because I've been using stuff and it didn't work for me. And I'm constantly evolving and learning. And I feel like if I don't share the knowledge, or even just like getting the reagent drops on Amazon, if you have questions about those, just let me know. I'll tell you which ones you can get, and you can test it yourself. Like, you
Yes.
don't have to believe us. Test it, then see
Yes.
5 minutes later, test it again. Is the hydrogen still in there? Because that's what happened with one of my bottles. First, it was there, like, the blue disappeared. And then I waited 5 minutes and I put the drops again, and it stayed blue. So that means the
Yeah.
hydrogen was gone within 5 minutes, you know?
Absolutely. And that's pretty much most of the technology out there. And Monica, I think you touched on the point that we are both passionate about our health. We are both passionate about well-being. And really the point of this discussion, and that's why we connected so well, was to really get people to ask questions and inquire about their, whatever they're choosing for their well-being. So it's really just, we're sharing our knowledge. We've done a bit of the groundwork, I believe, but please do your own research.
Yeah.
Reach out if you have any questions. Where do we get those drops? What do you mean about properties? What can I email the water companies? You can email them anything.
Yeah.
Again, ask questions. That's the most important thing, and get your answers. And if the answers, you'll get the answers that you're seeking. That's all I can say. And I know what I've been asking, and I've truly got the answers that I've been seeking. And I've been so forever grateful to meet amazing beings like you, Monica, on this
Thank you.
journey that have been
Likewise.
asking the same questions. We've been asking the same questions. We've all been led onto the same path. This is no coincidence.
Yeah.
This is no coincidence,
Absolutely.
especially like with our background. This is just part of our DNA. We're always inquiring about health, always inquiring about well-being, and for ourselves and for our patients. So
yeah. And it's funny, like after talking to you, not only because you're an amazing person, I wanted to discuss more in details with you, but I had a family member, a couple close friends that dealt with anemia for a while, and it really piqued my interest, because I'm like, this simple hydrogen, molecular hydrogen, but it makes sense when you actually break it down, and you're like, oh wait, energy, the digestion, the assimilation of the iron and all the other nutrients, it's that
absolutely.
simple sometimes. And again, you could be getting iron transfusions and this and that, and you're still feeling like crap. And it's really, really interesting to hear that. So I mean, I couldn't wait to talk to you more about it and share it, because it really has been very very important topic for me and people around me that have dealt with it.
And look, I've done all that. I've taken the tablets, and I've had constipation. I've had the infusions, when I've got really, really low at certain points in my life. And I've said, no. Again, that's treating what is going on here. There is an underlying reason here. And that is because my body is not assimilating the nutrition that I am eating. Why is it not assimilating? Because I'm chronically dehydrated. The water's not getting into my cells. My energy production's low. And when we talk about properties of water, we need all those 5 properties, because they impact on the magnetic factor of our body. They impact on the electrical factor of our body. You need this to have life force. So to put it in very simple terms, you need the best water to have life force, to have the energy run, to run through your cells, to have a magnetic force. Now I know if things aren't getting into your cells, that's where cellular death, that's where disease occurs. That's where problems arise.
Another analogy that just comes to my mind is like a car. If you have a diesel car, you're not going to put some gasoline in your car, or vice versa. When you're running on premium gas, you're not going to put diesel in your car. So same thing with your body. You want the best in your body. The question is that we just don't know what's best sometimes. That's why it's such a confusing topic. And like you said, we could talk about this for hours and hours, and maybe we'll do another podcast or a video about just water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can just talk about water. I know also too, just with my background, I know heartburn and reflux is a huge thing, you know, and just, you know, looking at, like, we can talk about anything. And again, we're here to just educate people to be empowered to ask questions. And just know Monica and I are always, you know, we asking the questions, and we truly believe that there is always a solution to the problem. And we are both in the health field, and that's where we come from. And I think that's probably why we had the most amazing technologies show up in our lives, that we can share with our loved ones, we can share with our patients. I'm just so excited to be able to share this with my co-workers, with my patients, with my family. I can't even start. I've been using it with so many other people with other disease processes, and the results I'm seeing. And again, part of my goal and mission is to track those and to report on those too. And again, these are stories about individual people and their stories. So what we've shared with you is the impact it's had on our bodies. And what we encourage you to do is, the only way you're going to know is by trying it yourself, because obviously everyone, you know, responds differently. But I just know the impacts this water has on my body and how it's helped me with my health. It's been a game changer. I have never ever felt so healthy in my life as I do now. And like I said, I'm approaching 50, and that's weird.
Oh, that's
Like,
amazing. That's amazing. You look
like,
amazing. I wouldn't have never thought, actually.
thank you. Honestly, I feel like from now on, I'm going to be reversing my age. That's like,
Heck
you know,
yeah.
probably.
I think molecular hydrogen actually helps with the epigenetics and aging and anti-aging and all that stuff. So,
Well, I was going to say, let's not even get into the anti-aging properties.
oh,
That's another
yes,
podcast.
yes. You know, and like, we talk about symptoms and things that you've experienced and I have, but you actually, if you go to like Google Scholar, there's over 1,200 scientific articles about hydrogen that we didn't do. Like, it's like other people that have researched it and used it in medical field and other stuff. So this is not a new thing. It's just that the thing about hydrogen, it is just hard to contain and produce it without all the byproducts and everything else. Yeah.
And that's where Nuno Nino has managed to do that. So yes, it's been in the literature for years, but it probably hasn't been as effective because we weren't able to produce quality, you know, molecular hydrogen water. And now with this technology, you know, we have a technology that does, and we had the tests to show that. So it's very exciting times. I really feel like this is going to be a revolution in all respects. I'm so excited to bring this to the world together with you, Monica.
Me too.
It's really exciting times, and the more people that know and are educated about just, and again, this is going to be, water does a lot of the heavy lifting. If we get our water right, trust me, we're 80% there.
That's
We've
awesome.
changed a lot of stuff about our body.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing all that. That's really just so helpful to hear, you know, another human being sharing their health struggles and overcoming things with just changing few things. It doesn't have to be so incredibly hard. You just have to want to. You have to be willing to make those little changes, those shifts, and believe in things and try things. You know, you be your own advocate, you do your research. Knowledge is power.
Absolutely. And things change. Like, we've tried things in the past that we've outgrown.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of always keeping up with, I always ask for the best to show up in my life. And that's my standard, and the best will show up until the next best thing shows up, until the next best thing. But I do know that with this particular company and Nuno does move with the times in terms of technology. And yes, with certain, you know, this will be an evolving, and this will upgrade over time. So it comforts me to know that we're part of a group of individuals that will grow and change and be constantly asking questions and inquiring about the body. And so what I'm saying is, it's going to be an amazing evolution in lots of respects. And again, please just be open to changing with the times as well, as we have. You know,
Yeah.
like, yes, in the past I've done things that I've outgrown. But like I said, with new consciousness comes new awareness and
Yeah.
new
Always
technology.
be open to learning
Always.
new things, erasing old stuff that you've learned and learning new
Exactly.
stuff, because things are always changing. We're always changing. Every day
Yes.
we're changing. Every hour we're changing. Every minute. So and of course, I'll put some links below. Maybe I'll link some videos about hydrogen or other stuff in there as well for people to kind of look into, and the Lumavita and like the technology that Nina's invented, and I'll link your Facebook, your info in there for anyone that wants to contact you. And of course, I want to respect your time because I know you got things to do, and I appreciate you chatting with me. My last question that I like to ask people usually is, what are the 3 things you wish you had known sooner about anything in your life? Relationships, health, anything. I can tell like what the answer might be here, but
Okay.
yeah.
Oh God. This is really going back to chatting to my younger self. Like, if I 3 things that I would wish I had known or had the wisdom when I was a lot younger,
Yes.
would definitely be trusting and knowing that things happen for us, not to us. So even my journey of, my autoimmune condition at the time, I was like, what am I
Yeah.
doing? But
Love
it was
that.
happening for me for a greater reason. And that's why I can show up the way that I do now. So if I had, spoken to my younger self, then I would have said, don't worry, there's a bigger
Yes.
picture to this. There's love behind this as well, So that's one thing, that things happen for us, not to us. The other thing too is the importance of hydration. That is something that I wish I had really done my PhD in.
Yeah.
I've
The
done it
right
now,
type of
but in
hydration.
hindsight, oh
Yeah.
my God, I wish I had. And the other thing too, in terms of things that I wish I had known now, is really, for me, that the importance of self-love, and I say this just, and you're probably thinking, oh, where's that coming from? It was that importance of knowing that we are whole and complete and perfect, and that our bodies are miraculous. We are born this way. And all it is giving ourselves enough self-love to remember that. I always say to people, you are not broken. We are not fixing anything. We are just bringing things back into balance. We are just bringing things back into balance, because your body was born intelligent, was born whole, was born complete. I get goosebumps saying that.
Wow.
Even
Yes.
to my patients, I say to them, please know that you are not broken. It's a matter of just getting things back online and getting back into balance. And when they truly get that, please understand that's a game changer, because we are
Yes.
here really just to remember who we truly are, and that is we are whole and complete and perfect and loving and unconditional loving beings. So
Oh,
that's my end
that's
note.
beautiful. Those are amazing. And it's like I've learned some of those things later in life, like self-love, and I
Absolutely.
don't mean to get on the tangent with this, but this kind of makes me just almost tear up, because it was such an important eye-opening thing for me, because I always judge myself. I'm too fat, I'm too this, I'm too this, never enough. And like when you talk to yourself that way, I mean, how are you supposed to feel? That is just awful. Things that we would never say to anyone ever.
And let me point out, we are 99% water, and
Yeah.
we know the vibration that we emit and
Yes.
imprint onto the
Yeah.
water creates happy water or not so good
Yes.
water. So if we're saying you suck, you're not good enough, what is that
Yeah.
doing to the water molecules in our body? They're looking pretty haggard. Whereas if we
Yeah.
say, I love you no matter what, you did the best that you can at the time, you got this, everything's always working out for you, there is love behind everything. Tell me your body's not going to thrive and glow from within. So that is one piece of wisdom to any teenage, to anyone, please, if it's something I can impart to you, love yourself. And part of loving yourself is giving your body the best of the best.
Yes.
So
Those are beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. I could talk to you for hours, literally.
I know,
And we
I know.
did.
We could make 3-hour-long podcast, and I love to talk. It's why I'm a speech
Yeah.
pathologist.
We were chatting at like 3 a.m. at the airport. We were
We
on the same
were.
flight from Madeira to Lisbon at 4:20 in the morning. So we were at the airport at like 3 a.m. chit-chatting about yeah, so it was amazing. But we'll definitely have to talk some more about the topics that we mentioned, because I just find that this is going to be a revolutionary thing for people, for their health. And I'm so excited to be on this journey and sharing this information, and hopefully seeing the changes for people in their health and their vibration and just everything else.
Absolutely. And please just ask questions, do your investigations, reach out and ask us any questions. This is a passion project. I can't describe it to you. This is something it's something that's we're compelled to do and bring this to the world. Oh God, there's so much more I can share, but I do know that one of my secret wishes, and I'm going to end on this, was when I was growing up, even as a little girl, I knew I wanted to be a health professional. And I remember having such a big, bold dream in life, and that was to revolutionize the health system, because I could see that, many people were sick and they were still made to be sick. And I remember as a little girl going to my parents going, you know what, one day, and, I was laughed at. But you know what? I never let go of that dream, and I constantly had that inquiry. How can I contribute? How can we revolutionize the health system? How can we make it a true well-being system? And I have not stopped asking that question. And yes, many decades later, I feel like we have an amazing technology that can possibly be one of the answers. So please reach out. Ask us any questions. I am in service to anyone and everyone wanting more information. Reach out to Monica. We're here co-creating with Nuno. We are just, as you can tell, from our energy, you're probably picking up how passionate we are.
Yeah.
This is not a mind and logical thing. This is just beyond. It's just something that's just, oh God, bigger than anything I can even describe.
Yeah, I wish we could share all of that with everyone. But I'm like, you have to be there to experience the vibration of everything. So yeah, but thank you so much for your time. I cannot wait to share all this information with my followers and people on my podcast and YouTube. And I look forward to chatting with you again. Thank
Absolutely,
you so
Monica.
much.
You have a lovely night and chat soon.
Thank you so much, Norey.